Do you ever find yourself desiring more stillness or mental calm? Perhaps you're even desperate for it. If this sounds familiar, this episode is for you. You're listening to the Higher Attitudes Podcast, inspiration to lift your soul. Hi, Tom here again, talking about stillness, or that seemingly elusive mental calm we often strive for. I'm smiling as I say this because I realize how ridiculous it sounds to say that I am striving or fighting and struggling to find mental calm. If I keep fighting to find it, I never will. How can we find the stillness we need if it isn't something we can conquer? We're used to struggling. We're taught that struggle is part of this life. When we are born, we cry because of cold or hunger after we are separated from our mother's constant supply of nourishment and warmth. These are our first struggles. We are taught that they must continue, and challenges and discomforts do surely continue. But we can let go of the struggle to find stillness because it's counterproductive. It moves us away from peace, not towards it. For me, stillness begins with the permission to seek stillness. It is an allowance I must make for myself. In the 46th Psalm, we read about God's willingness to help us be still. In verse 1, it says, "God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble." And then in verses 8 and 9, it says, "Come, behold the works of the Lord. He maketh wars to cease. He breaketh the bow. He cutteth the spear. He burneth the chariot." And then finally in verse 10, "Be still, and know that I am God." Stillness begins with letting God teach us to stop warring against ourselves. That process begins in stillness. Try stillness today. Reject the idea that to be still, you have to be successful at it. When we try to be still, and instead our minds race and continue to feed us random thoughts, we often feel that we have failed. This simply, however, is the first stage of stillness. Let me give you an example. When I lived in Germany, we drove on the Autobahn. Speeds were high compared to the United States where I live now. Instead of driving 55 miles per hour or 90 kilometers per hour, we drove 100 miles per hour or 160 kilometers per hour. And if you owned a faster car, you drove faster than that. But for our example, let's say we were going 120 miles per hour or 190 kilometers per hour. Is it really wise to want to go to 0 miles per hour when we first touch the brake? That's right, a very unwise goal. Why do we think our minds must be still the first time we close our eyes and listen for God to whisper to us? Today, when you start to slow down your mind to make more room for God, remember first that He will help you. Take just 2 or 3, or perhaps 5 minutes and shut your eyes and just listen. Notice the kids squabbling downstairs or the traffic as that ambulance races by. Perhaps offer a prayer for the passenger. Notice the smells where you are. Notice how nice it feels to not have to be still all at once. Giving up that one expectation can alone be life-changing. And when you are done, when your internal voice asks if you really got anything out of it for the minutes you invested, just ignore that voice. Don't argue. Instead, decide when you will practice again and put that smartphone to work by setting a reminder to practice being still. It will take less time than you think to begin noticing the ideas God wants you to have. Ask Him to help you notice them and to teach you to discern what are His words and what are your thoughts. Here's a hint. Be especially aware of peaceful, kind thoughts about yourself and others. There is a good chance these are God's same thoughts for you. Well, that's all for today. As we wrap up, I ask you to remember that higher attitudes lift not only your soul, but also all the souls you rub shoulders with each day. Be well, and may God bless you in your efforts to listen for His whisperings. Thank you for listening. We'd love to have you join us on Facebook at facebook.com/higher-attitudes. Do you have an uplifting thought to share? Why not join our Facebook discussion group? Visit the group at facebook.com/groups/higher-attitudes to request membership. If you'd like to leave a question about a challenge you're facing, or if you'd like to share a thought about how you've overcome negativity, call 719-301-0303 and record your question or comment. Please note that carrier rates may apply. Again, call 719-301-0303 to leave a question or comment. We hope you've enjoyed the show, and we look forward to you joining us for the next episode of the Higher Attitudes podcast. Please remember that the advice offered in this show is intended for informational purposes only. Please read our full disclaimer in the show notes.